Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new on my channel, then welcome. Now today we are doing, I know, yet another tutorial, but it was another suggestion, and I really liked the suggestion because it sounded so easy at first, and I had kind of thought about that previously, like several times, but I never actually ended up doing any looks like this because they are not as easy as it sounds. I was asked to do a more neutral, like a very simple and basic everyday look, but add a pop of color. And this is what I ended up doing. And I'm actually so glad because it is really easy. Didn't take too much time at all. It's kind of quick and it just works. So I'm really grateful for the suggestion. And of course, this was the perfect chance for me to use my bPerfect and Stacey Marie Carnival palette. If you've been following my channel for a while, you know that I absolutely adore this palette, but it is so colorful that it's not one of those palettes that I get to use every single day. So yeah, I have to really think when I use this palette, and that's what I actually love about this, because you know, you don't just kind of jump in and do whatever. You really have to make sure that like what you're creating fits together and all that. And then I don't know why I didn't plan on talking so much in the intro, so I'm going to stop now. If you want to see how I created this look, then just keep on watching. Let's begin, shall we? We are all ready to start working on the eyes. I have only applied the NYX Dark Circle Under Eye Concealer, and that is all that is on my face besides my skincare routine. So I'm going to, of course, prime my eyelids as well before we can go in with any kind of eyeshadow. This is the Urban Decay Eyeshadow Primer Potion, and this will help to make the eyeshadows last longer on my eyes and look more vibrant. And also the reason why I'm not using concealer is because I plan on using eyeliner as well, and I don't want that to start smudging or creasing, which can happen when you're using concealer. At least that's what tends to happen. I've noticed it happening on my eyelids. When I'm using concealer, sometimes like things smudge, whereas when I use eyeshadow primer specifically, that doesn't happen. Because we're doing a very basic eye look, which will be all about having that kind of pop of color, which I will show you in a minute what I have in mind. I do want to cover up the veiny eyelids that I have. You probably won't be able to see too well because the ring light that I have in front of me does kind of even it out a bit. Yeah, so it's not as noticeable, but my eyelids are super veiny. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Wet n Wild Photofocus pressed powder in the shade Warm Light. That also helps to kind of cover up those veins that I was talking about. So I'm just taking a huge fluffy brush and kind of starting off with the inner corner. I'm kind of slowly working my way towards the eyebrow and moving across the eyelid. But I'm not taking it all the way to the outer V because I do plan on using a crease shade in this area. So I'm just keeping it more so over here. And I'm not actually even taking it too close to my lash line because, as I said, I want to use eyeliner and I want that to really pop. Oh, and by the way, if you see this thing, it's like the best place to have a blister. I was mowing the lawn, so that's why I have some battle scars. Right, so the next thing that I'm going to do is use the crease shade that I was talking about earlier, and I'm going to dip into the shade Basic, which, as you can see, I've really dug my brush into. I love that shade. And I'm going to start building up the outer V lightly and kind of buffing it out towards my brow and working it towards my inner corners. But as we laid down the pressed powder on the first half of the lid, I'm trying not to blend over that area too much. We'll see what comes out. I am taking the tiniest amount possible because the shadows are super pigmented, so you really don't need to take too much at a time. Otherwise, you're just going to be spending ages and ages on blending it out. And now I'm just taking a clean, fluffy brush and brushing over the edges. So we have applied the crease shade and blended it in towards the outer V and also towards the inner corner a bit. So that is actually where I want to leave it. And now I want to turn my focus to the pop of color. And for some reason, I am really drawn toward the shade Funky. We're going to see what comes out of that. But I'm going to try and kind of start buffing it very close to my lash line and hopefully be able to buff it out a bit. And now I'm kind of trying to soften the edges. I feel like the skin of my eyelid is still peeking through that powder, which I mean is kind of obvious because that powder is not meant to be like a full coverage powder, you know, it's meant to let your skin shine through a bit. Now, because I have the Tartelette palette on hand, I'm going to take the shade Free Spirit from this one, which is just like a bone, kind of a matte bone shade, and I want to add a bit more of color on my eyelid just to hide the veiny stuff. Yeah, see? Do you see the difference? Yeah, I think I really like that. That's the one thing that I actually miss from this palette, just that there is no like matte white or cream tone shade, nothing like that. Okay, we have something like this. And I am quite happy with it, and you can absolutely leave it like that if you want to, and this will just be like the most simple kind of pop of color. But I want to take it a step further, and this might absolutely ruin the look. I've been known to take such risks in the past. For some reason, I always want to go there and see if I can try something, experiment with it and see where it takes the look, but sometimes it kind of does the opposite and really takes away from the look, and sometimes it creates this super cool effect which I end up absolutely falling in love with. But it is always a gamble, so I never know which it's going to be. Today, well, we shall find out very soon. I'm going to take the Revolution Pro Pigment Pomade in the shade Ocean Blue. You guys, if you've been following my channel, you've seen me use this a couple of times in my videos, not too much. So we're going to try and line the lash line and kind of draw over that pink line, but not cover it up completely. Anyway, we'll see if my vision comes to life as it did in my last video, or whether it will be an epic fail. These things always stress me out so much whenever there's like any kind of liner involved. It just stresses me out, but let's see. Did it ruin it? I don't know. I'm gonna have to go over it a couple of times and kind of clean it up, make it a bit more nice. I'm gonna try and make it look nice somehow. Now I'm taking a bit more of the shade Funky, that pink one, and I'm trying to enhance that pink a bit. I guess we'll see how it really looks like once we have the rest of the face done and the lashes on and all that. But for now, I'm just going to do the other eye as well, clean up as much fallout as there is, which is surprisingly not that much. But yeah, I'm gonna do that, and then we're gonna jump straight onto the face makeup. Okie doke, this is the eyes for now. Let us move on to the face. I am going to use the Wet n Wild Photofocus Dewy foundation. I very recently got this. I have only tested this out once, and the one thing that I noticed was that yes, it is much more dewy than the original Photofocus foundation, but it almost like falls into the little creases on my face, which is not the most attractive look, but I'm going to try something different today. I'm going to try and set those creases in place on my face with some powder and see if that makes a difference. Because in general, I really did enjoy the formula the first time I tried this. Mine is in the shade Soft Beige, by the way. If I had to compare the two, I'd say that they are very similar in the sense of coverage. I feel like they both cover very well. I know that a lot of people were kind of put off by the painty smell of the Photofocus foundation. Now this does still have a weird kind of, I don't even know what to call it, but like a chemically scent, but I can see that they have tried. They have probably worked on the fragrance part of the foundation. So it is definitely not as strong, I feel like at least, as the original Photofocus one is. But yeah, there is still fragrance in there. But coverage wise, it is really nice. It covers very well. It is like, I'd say medium to high coverage. You can definitely build this one up as well. And as you can see, it does leave a slightly more dewy effect. Well, I would actually even have to say a lot more dewy. It looks a lot more dewy than the original one. But I actually didn't mind the original formula at all. I really like the Photofocus foundation. Now, underneath the eyes, Tarte Shape Tape, of course. It is my absolute favorite. I seriously still don't think any other concealer compares. By the way, now this technique that I'm using right now, which is like applying a dot at the end of the eye, a dot near the inner corner, and that's it. Just kind of blending it out with your finger, not applying too much product and all that. That is actually a technique that I learned from Robert Welsh here on YouTube, and ever since I saw him explaining why, like, it's really not the best idea to apply a whole bunch of concealer underneath the eyes in like this triangular shape that we all have been doing for such a long time. I know I've been guilty of that, I should say. Ever since I saw that video where he explained it and I started doing my under eyes like that, it absolutely changed. It changed my makeup game, let's just say it like that. Because now I feel like my under eyes look way less heavy than they used to before, and I still get a really nice amount of coverage because I'm not soaking the product up with my sponge. I used to apply it with a sponge, with a wet sponge. Yeah, it's just way less heavy and looks a lot nicer and works just as well. Well, better. I'm actually going to do the brows off camera because it is the least interesting part. It is such a pain for me to do them, so I'm just trying to get them out of the way as quickly as possible, and it's really not that interesting to watch. So yeah, I'm gonna jump back here to finish up the face once I've done my brows. Brows are done. Now we're going to set underneath the eyes, and today I'm going to be using the Laura Mercier Translucent Loose Setting Powder. Not my favorite, if I'm completely honest, but since I already have it, I might as well use it. It's just a bit drying, that's all. That's the reason why I'm not like the biggest fan of it, but it does the job. As always, you want to get rid of the creases first before you start setting anything in place underneath the eyes, or well, anywhere on your face for that matter. Using a brush and setting the concealer in place. Also kind of putting it a bit on my cheekbone as well. And that is really just to help me blend out my bronzer, all these other face products afterwards. Really does help create this super smooth blend. And now I'm also, this is the testing thing. I'm also going to try and apply a bit of powder over here on my smile lines and see whether that makes a difference at all. I'm trying to use as little powder as possible because I don't really like the look of powder on my face. It just really dries out my skin. I have dry skin as it is. So yeah, powder is not my biggest friend, but when I use it in very specific places, it is great. So anyway, as I said, I'm going to, my nose is itchy. But I'm going to also use the Wet n Wild pressed powder underneath my eyes a bit as well. Just tapping over a tiny bit. I'm gonna apply my falsies first, and then I'm gonna see whether I want to do anything on my lower lash line, because right now I feel like I don't. So I'm going to be applying the Red Cherry eyelashes in the style Au Naturel. But first, of course, I need to apply, what am I saying, mascara. I'm going to take my favorite, the L'Oreal Paradise Extatic Waterproof Mascara. And of course, need to give my lashes a bit of a volume boost first. Have to be super careful with the mascara in order not to mess up my eyelids. Which I tend to do every single time I apply mascara. I think I'm actually going to leave it like that for now, and let's move on to highlighter. I want to, because we've been using so many Wet n Wild products anyway, well, at least I feel like we've been using a lot of Wet n Wild products. I want to use the highlighters as well. Haven't used them in a while. These are the Megaglo highlighting powders. I have two. I have the shades Precious Petals and Blossom Glow. Blossom Glow looks a lot more ethereal, like almost duochromy, whereas the Precious Petals is a lot darker, like a rose gold kind of shade. So I'm going to mix the two because one is way too light and the other is way too dark. I'm also applying that mixture in my inner corners. As always, slightly toning down the highlighter with the powder brush that I used to set underneath my eyes. And that just makes it look a bit more natural, which is the kind of look that I like. And now onto the bronzer. I'm using the Butter Bronzer by Physicians Formula. This is in the shade Deep Bronzer, sorry. And I'm just going around the perimeters of my face and emphasizing my cheekbones, my temples, the sides of my nose, and underneath my jaw as well. And I'm also bringing whatever is left of the bronzer on my brush down my neck as well, just to kind of make a more even transition. And since we already have this like blushy pink kind of eye look, I want to apply some blush on my cheeks as well, which I know I don't really do very often, but today I feel like doing it. So I'm going to apply a bit of the Milani Baked Blush in the style Luminoso, but literally just the smallest amount because you guys know I'm not the biggest fan of blush. So just kind of applying it on the apples of my cheeks. Now this is a nice peachy kind of very, very warm blush, and it's also a tad, I wouldn't say shimmery, but it has this slight glow to it. So I feel like it just meshes in with the highlighter super well. And finishing touches on the face, of course, I cannot do without this one. This is the Givenchy Healthy Glow Powder in the shade number 2. Just giving a kind of slight swirl around the face, underneath the eyes a bit. And this just ties every single element on my face together and adds this beautiful warm glow. Now really all that's left to do is the lips, and for that I'm going to take a lipstick that I haven't used in a hot minute. This is the Maybelline, what's it called, Color Sensational lipstick, and this is in the shade Peach Poppy. It's more of a corally tone, and we are all done. And that's the end of the tutorial. This is my little take on a very neutral, natural kind of look with a pop of color. I think this is such a summery, vibrant, colorful kind of look, even though the amount of color in the look is actually not that substantial. That was it. Thank you so much, as always, for everything, for being here, for watching this video, for leaving all of your amazing comments of love, support, kindness. It just means so much. Thank you. I really do feel the warmth through your comments, so I appreciate every single one of you. And yeah, okay, now I'm going to stop rambling. This is the longest outro ever. So thanks again, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.